Well, what we're going through is something we've never experienced, and agriculture in general in Australia has never really experienced this before. So to say that's enough, I couldn't tell. Any help we get is good help, and we're happy for every bit of money that we can get to try and work through the issues. So this is pretty new for us. It's pretty new for the government, and so I think we've just got to all just slow down a bit and work practically through the best solutions to get this sorted out. Well, it's hard to work that out at this point in time because, we're still right amongst it. The challenge for us is what the residual is going to be, because we produce 12 months a year. We've got a farm in Stanthorpe as well. And so the big challenge for the rest of the Australian strawberry industry, which is the West Australian industry and the Victorian, South Australian and the Stanthorpe, is that they're a month away from their harvest. And so imagine if we went into the other half of the industry's harvest with no demand. The impact on pricing would mean that pretty well nobody makes money, everybody makes a loss. The result here in Queensland is that there's a fair chance most growers are going to run a loss, because the profit is often made in the last 6 weeks of the season, and that 6 weeks has been severely damaged for us. Yeah, it is a bit tough. There's no doubt there's lots of tractors and trees that have copped an abuse from people in the last few days, but all you can do is just work through it. This is, as I said earlier, this is new for all of us, consumers, growers, the retailers, and we've got to take time just to work through the issue and work out what the practical solutions to it are. The social media is what's ramped up the whole scenario, which has then prompted reactions from retailers to pull stuff from shelves, which then collapsed the market, and it just started feeding on itself terribly. It's been suggested, what are the things that we could have done? Well, the reality is none of us have been here before. None of us know the solutions. We don't know how to react, and the reality for most of us farmers is that for the first 2 days, our heads were spinning. We had no idea how to react to this or what to do. We tried our hardest to put measures in place like metal detectors and things, but at the end of the day, when people don't want to buy strawberries and the industry is set up to pick and pack every single day to satisfy a demand that's normally there, and the demand is, you can't do anything about it. Absolutely. The supply chain for all agricultural products is a long supply chain. There's lots of different entities amongst that supply chain. And so in this case, there's lots of opportunities for people to do something. Where do you even start? Absolutely. We're at the height of pick. At that point in time, the strawberry industry would have had 10 or 12,000 people in Queensland employed, and I'd suggest at least half of those would have had to be knocked off, yeah. We don't know, because the reality is we didn't dump a lot. We just hosed paddocks out, so it stayed on the bush. It's no point spending money picking something that you've got to throw away, so we made decisions to drop blocks pretty quickly. So that's how we approached it. Oh, look, it's fantastic to see how the Australian public have got behind this issue. I think is a really positive thing, and whilst the needle issue is negative, there's going to be a lot of positive things that come out of it. The reality is the whole of Australia knows a lot more about strawberries than they did a week ago, and that can only be good long term. Well, we've simply halved, and so now we're picking and packing the crop that we have left, and what we'll be trying to do, like the rest of the growers out there, is take that through as long as we can to try to save some of the season. And in our case, we'll be moving into the next crop in Stanthorpe. Well, I think it is a learning of it. It's not just for the public. There was people in positions in the government that said things that didn't help as well. So I think right across the whole sphere of people that had things to say will have learned something from this. We need to just take a breath. The reality is okay. Needles are dangerous, quite obviously. But look at the result of the hysteria.
I was glad when Scott Morrison came out on Wednesday and said about tough penalties, about people that are posting it on Facebook, because this was the error. If this did occur, Why post it on Facebook? Report it straight to the police, because it's a pretty serious matter. It doesn't need to be on social media and everything being judged. And then the media grabbing social media too is very hard. You know, it just is a combination of everything that occurred. You know, in hindsight, like John's said, a lot of words of wisdom, you know, it's easy and it's hard to know what to do in a time like this. But, you know, if something like this does occur, the first protocol should be to contact the police, because the moment you put it on social media, you're instilling it in other people's minds. Well, it's still early. Like John said, this has happened so quick. We haven't even come up in the wash. We're still reeling on what's been happening over the last 10 days. And, you know, we don't know what the outcome is. And, you know, it's hard. You know, we were telling people to stop, to at least cut back. You know, it's hard to make those calls. And, yeah, we could only do what the Australian public's allowed us to do, and you know, and we're very grateful for their support now. It's good for those that have kept producing, but we don't know the effect for those that have stopped producing. That's probably the hardest one to swallow, was telling people to stop, and there's some hard-head people around, and we keep moving and they come out.
The best thing we can have is support from the public. Because we can't just keep on going to the government for a handout every time things look a bit tough. I mean, if we did that, well, why don't we do it when we get hailed on? Why don't we do it when we run out of water? You can't, right? You just got to work through these tough times. And so, you know, the people of Australia supporting is what's going to help us through, because that'll put, you know, they'll pay for strawberries, that'll put money into the operations and allow us to get through. Because what you've got to also understand is we start prepping for next year now. We've all already ordered our plants for next year. We've already started spending money on next year's crop. So the scary thing for us is that this, you know, if there's any legacy in regards to this, we're set up to supply the demand of strawberries in Australia. If the consumption stops and the demand's lower than what we've set up to grow, we'll be in total oversupply and we'll still be in strife. And this issue is not just a strawberry issue. It could have been almost any other crop. It just so happens it was strawberries, and strawberries is probably the one crop that has the least ability to deal with it, because our supply chain is so fast and the product's so perishable. We can't deal with big issues like this. If it was, say, apples, well, at least the apple growers, they've got most of their fruit in cold rooms. They can hold off packing and sort things out. And, you know, I'm not saying that they'd be any better off financially, but at least they've got some time in their supply chain. We don't have any in ours. Ours is just like milk. You know, it gets picked, it gets shipped, it gets eaten, and we do it every day. And that's that. Well, it'd be nice just to go back to how we were. You know, I mean, we need to match production to consumption to make sure, you know, consumers got plenty of nice strawberries to eat, but the strawberries aren't too overpriced, so everybody's happy. That balance is always hard to strike, but that's where we want to get back to. And I'd like to think that consumers can buy a punnet of strawberries at any point in time, feel 100% confident that they can just chew into those strawberries and not have to worry about anything.